Okay, so it's 12:01, so we will go ahead and get started. I see some people still joining the call from the virtual lobby. I just wanted to, first of all, thank everyone for taking time out of your busy Wednesday to hop on this call with us today. We'll be discussing the Master of Management, Innovation and Entrepreneurship, the MMIE program here at Smith School of Business, Queen's University. And we'll specifically be discussing the application process for the MMIE and how it's not too late to start your application for our next intake, which will be in August of this year. So over the next hour or so, we're going to discuss the application process in detail. We're going to answer questions, and we're also going to engage with a current student who started his application to the program relatively late in the application cycle last year and has gone on to do great things within the program. So it's still very much possible. We have a living example of how it's possible to start your application and still go on to be successful within the program. So as always here at Queen's University, we like to start by acknowledging the fact that our campuses are situated on traditional Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee territory. And we are very grateful to be able to live, learn, and play on these lands. My name is Connor McCann. I'm the Associate Director of the MMIE program. In my role, I really focus primarily on recruitment and admission. So I work closely with our recruitment team, our application advisors, our recruitment advisors, our marketing department. We're always collectively looking to recruit that next intake for the MMIE, which in this case is the class of 2026 that will start the program this coming August, finish the program in the summer of 2026, and then have their convocation ceremonies in the fall of 2026. We're also joined today by Beth McCallum, who is our dedicated application advisor for the MMIE program. You're going to hear a lot more from Beth later on in the presentation. She's really the go-to source of information. She's the guiding light. She's the advisor for all MMIE applicants. Unlike some other programs that might have application portals and it's a little bit less impersonal, we do assign each and every applicant with an application advisor, that being Beth for MMIE applicants. So it's just great to have that person to bounce ideas off of and to really partner with and ensuring that you're building the strongest application candidacy possible for the program. So we'll go into all those details and you'll hear a lot more from Beth later on in the presentation. I just want to take the next couple of slides to quickly give an overview of the MMIE program. We're not going to talk about the program exhaustively in today's webinar. We do run monthly general information session webinars, and conveniently the next of those series of webinars is scheduled for next week, next Tuesday over the lunch hour. So if you're on the call now, again, thank you. But if you're interested in delving more deeply into the curriculum, the program structure, the fees and financing, the faculty members who make up the tremendous kind of teaching horsepower in the program, we go into all those details and more during those general information session webinars. So please do register for that next general info session next Tuesday over the lunch hour, and you can just register for that for free on the program website. But just for the purposes of establishing what the program is all about, the MMIE program is a 12-month intensive program that's a combination of asynchronous virtual learning and these 3 intensive bootcamp sessions. And we're really trying to teach students how to lead innovation, how to analyze opportunities, and how, at the end of the day, to actually manage, scale, and grow projects, whether those are entrepreneurial projects, startups, new businesses, new ventures, or corporate innovation projects more within a corporate context. So that's what the program is all about in a very brief nutshell. The types of students that we're looking for, I mean, it's very difficult to put entrepreneurs, innovators in boxes, but we do our best to do that in these 4 boxes on the slide here. So we're looking for people who are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, people who want to focus more on corporate innovation, people who are adventurers who maybe just have something that they're passionate about. They're hoping to network and meet a cohort of like-minded, innovative classmates, and also those people who are interested on the social innovation side. So you might have a social cause that you're particularly interested in. You're looking to drive positive societal change through innovation. And we certainly do create room in the program for those types of candidates as well. So just a very brief overview of the program and the types of candidates that we're looking for. Again, it's very difficult to place a lot of these students neatly into boxes, but these are some of the motivations that we see for students coming into the program. So speaking of students in the program, at this point, I would like to introduce Arjan, who is a current student in the MMIE class of 2025. So he would have started his program journey last August, in the August of 2024. Just this past weekend, he wrapped up his third and final on-site session here in Kingston. He's going to complete his capstone project over the next couple of months, complete the program formally in the summer, and then come back to Kingston for his convocation this fall. So Arjun is one who's very much towards the end of his MMIE student journey, but we do want to focus more specifically on Arjan's application journey. He is someone who started his application relatively late in the application cycle. We were chatting a little bit. I know that Arjun was going through his email trying to figure out when the first communication was from Beth, but it looks like it was about mid-June of last year, mid-June of 2024. And just about 6 or 7 weeks later, he was able to actually start the program as an enrolled student. So we're just going to get into that journey with Arjun. He's currently a mortgage development manager at National Bank, I think, based in Toronto. Is that correct, Arjun?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
based
that's
in
right.
Toronto. Yeah, so he's just made the trip to and from Kingston 3 times over the past year to participate in those 3 on-site sessions. So maybe just to start here, Arjun, I think it's helpful for the audience to know just the mindset you're in. So if you could rewind
Mhm.
a year, I think you were considering a couple of different programs. How did the
Yeah.
MMIE come across your radar? What caused you to start your application to the program?
Yeah, Connor, I'm happy to delve into that. So, as we were talking about as well, I completed my undergrad about 6 years ago, from University of Toronto in economics. I always was wanted to go to the business route. So standard for me, my colleagues, my friends, is the MBA route. I
Yeah.
just found that it wasn't really meant for me. I just see the changing landscape, especially in the work environment. There's a lot of new things that are not included in a lot of MBAs when I was researching at different programs or different schools. So the MMIE is one that I came across. Like Queens is a well-known school. I was looking to the MBA there as well, but it just didn't really speak to me that well. It was a little bit different than what I imagined on doing. One of the main mindsets I had is that I wanted to start my own company or start my own business. Or it could be even that you want your start an entrepreneurial project in a company that you work for. So that's how I found the MMIE last year around this time. Did a little bit of research, and I think that was the best fit for me at that time, which is it came out to be true. In terms of the application as well, like you said, I started. I would say I was a late bloomer. I started mid June. I had the pleasure of working with Beth at the time as well. She was very helpful, very personal. If I had any questions, I emailed her directly. But all in all, even the application process, it took me, I think, just 2 weeks, under 2 weeks, which was really great. Some of the other programs I applied to took much longer, and it was more like a portal that you're communicating through to them until you get to the final stages of acceptance. But for the MMIE, I like that I had Beth every step of the way, so that really made a difference for me, and that's one of the reasons why I chose the MMIE over other programs.
Fantastic. Yeah. And just to remind the audience, you do have the ability to ask questions to Arjan directly. So if you have questions, please do type them into the Q&A function. I'd be happy to ask those on your behalf. When you decided to start your application, Arjan, I mean, you said you're able to, work your way through the process very quickly, and Beth was very helpful throughout that process, and we'll delve into that a little bit. But first, I'm wondering if did you have any reservations, any anxiety, any stress stemming from the fact that you did start your application so late? Like, was there some hesitation there initially?
Yeah, initially, because when I applied to other programs, right, MBAs and other master's programs, they were taking, I mean, it was a little bit longer, the process, right? So I wasn't exactly sure if I'd heard back in time, because I knew the program was going to start in August, only about 8 weeks away, less than 8 weeks. So I did have a little bit of hesitation, like if I'm paying the fee for, applying and everything, spending time doing my video essay. Yeah, that was my reservation, but I'm happy that it was rather quick, quicker than other applications that I've done. It was my luck that I found the MMIE program a little bit later in my journey, but I'm glad that you guys had the support system for me to be able to, go from start to finish within 2 weeks.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And let's actually talk about that 2 weeks. So if you can just kind of walk us through, the timeline, the amount of work that was required, if you could estimate, the amount of time that you actually had to put into your application. Because it seems like a lot. I know Beth reaches out and she gives you that laundry list of everything that you need to complete. So it seems like
Yeah.
not a lot initially, but once you start working through it, we find that applicants find it relatively straightforward and easy to follow.
Yeah, it just goes along with everyone's personal schedule. For me, I didn't think it was too intensive just because I was pretty determined to want to check off all those boxes. It really depends on the individual, but even for the average person, it's not a lot. I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a laundry list. It's just like a short, I think 4 or 5 things you have to do. I think there was a questionnaire if I remember at that time, and then also, if I believe, a video essay,
Yeah,
followed by my interview with Mary Ann at a later stage too.
yeah,
But yeah, the in terms of the laundry list, the checklist, it was fairly simple. I didn't find it to be too intensive, really. It was something for me, like I was still working at the time. I would work 9 to 5, so I'd focus on it during the evening hours. But within, I'd say a week, if you were actually dedicated to it, you can check off all those things on the list to continue the application.
fantastic. And then just talking a little bit about your relationship dynamic with Beth. I mean, we do try to convey the fact that advisors, I mean, we call them advisors, they're more like consultants. Like they're really there to help the applicant build the strongest candidacy. So in
Yeah.
that sense, there's a lot of alignment. Like Beth wants the applicant to create the strongest case for candidacy. Obviously, the applicant wants that as well. So it is very much a consulting kind of advisory role. So over that 2 week process, and you were accelerated because it was only 2 weeks and you were very keen to get everything completed. But how were you able to leverage Beth into really making your application stronger at the end of the day?
Yeah, that's a good question. Really, that's what I found different when it came to the MMIE compared to other programs. Like I even applied to programs in the US, and it was just not as personable. You couldn't really reach out directly to a person like, "Hey, Beth, I have a question about this," or "Is this okay?" So I really found that was helpful. I was able to communicate directly with her. The responses were quick. Over email is perfectly fine. It wasn't too complicated where I need to get her on the phone or anything. But I found that to be very helpful in terms of my application. She was very accessible, so that's a big difference. And I think that's part of the reason why my application went so fast and so smoothly.
Excellent. Excellent. So you start your application. 2 weeks later, you receive that offer of admission. If you could just kind of bring the audience to, I mean, the excitement of receiving that offer of admission, but then the next steps in the process. So how did you go about making sure that you were making the most informed decision as to whether or not to accept that offer of admission? Oftentimes, candidates need to
Yeah.
think about the financing. So whether it's, securing a student loan, line of credit, contacting a bank, whether it's making sure they have buy-in from their employer. So how did you navigate that period between when you received the offer of admission and when
Yeah.
you actually decided to accept it? And what was on your mind at that time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I did a lot of research, not just the MMIE for all the program that I was looking into. So one thing that I did, if anyone on the call may have not started already, I started reaching out to people on LinkedIn. I would just
Yeah.
search up MMIE, see everyone that's there, and just kind of blasted a short message to everyone, say, "Hey, I'm looking into this program. Let me know your thoughts." So I think I don't know if LinkedIn blocked me, but after a certain time, I wasn't able to send any more messages. I was doing that for all the programs that I was contemplating and the ones I was accepted into. So yeah, definitely exciting because I heard really good things about the MMI, which is what made me want to continue my application and then ultimately accept it. But that was my strategy. In terms of that excitement, once I had so much feedback from different students, past alumni, saying how great the program was and what you learn and what you take out of it. Also, LinkedIn is good in the sense that you can see their trajectory in their career as well, right? Because after the MMIE, you can see what they've done, what they're doing. So that's also motivational to me as well. So yeah, I was really excited when I actually got the offer because I saw what other people, what they were doing after they have graduated, even the ones as recently as a year before mine, right? Sam, I saw his profile
Yeah.
when I first started looking at the MMIE as well. So I think that was a big factor for me. Instead of going blindly, I went and talked to people for all the programs. So the MMIE stood out to me as the best fit for me in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true that our students and our alumni, they're the best advocates for the program because they're the ones who have actually lived and breathed it. I mean, Beth and
Yeah.
myself and the rest of our recruitment team, we can answer any questions, administratively, logistically, but when it comes to
Yeah.
that student experience and what the program actually feels like over the year-long
Yeah.
delivery, it's always so great to connect with students. I know, Arjun, you're confident, so you had no problem just reaching out to people directly over LinkedIn. But if there's people in the virtual audience who maybe aren't as confident, aren't as comfortable in doing that, I mean, normally that's my strategy.
Yeah.
Beth and I are happy to facilitate connections as well. So if anyone wants to reach out, you're interested in connecting with a student, you would like Beth and I to make an introduction, we're always more than happy to do that. So just a couple more questions here, Arjun, respectful of the fact that it's in the middle of your workday. I guess just in general, was there anything that surprised you about the application process? Was there anything that you weren't expecting?
Just how quick it was really. It wasn't, I wouldn't say it's wildly different from any other master's applications that you're doing. You know, you got your questions, the questionnaire, the essay, the interview. So in terms of format and requirements, it's pretty general compared to the other masters that you're looking or that I was looking at. The
Okay.
only thing that surprised me is how fast I got that email. I'm
Yeah.
just like it was the fastest I got. I got into two other programs, and those ones took me considerably a longer amount of time.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, and that's really the value of having Beth as an application advisor. She's
Yeah.
known to send very, very timely responses, so we appreciate that. Beth and Arjan is just one of countless examples of people who have received an incredible kind of timely service from Beth. So we don't have any questions in the chat. You and I didn't discuss this before, Arjan, but would you be comfortable if people reached out to you on LinkedIn, kind of maybe,
Oh, absolutely.
return the
Yeah, I do
favor?
the
You
same
reached
thing to
out to
others. So
students this
I,
time last year, so if anyone were to follow up with
yeah.
you on LinkedIn, you'd be okay with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can, if you want, you could post my link or you can just search me up by name, whatever works. I'm okay with that. Yeah, yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. So just in closing, any general advice? Like people on the call now, they might have
Yeah.
started their application already and they're preparing for the interview, putting their application elements together. There might be other people on the call who haven't started their application yet and they're still thinking whether they should start. So just any
Yeah.
general advice that you can give to people who might be considering starting an application to the program.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of advice, I would say it's you have to expect something different. Like I know my friends, some even colleagues that have done masters at different universities. It's wildly different, the experience in a good way for me, right? I like to, have different projects. I've done the whole memorize math equations and take a test, multiple choice, do math questions on tests. I've done all of that. So I don't find in the real world there's not too much value unless you're going into I guess medicine or you're going to do a PhD. But you have to know that this program is a little bit different. It's more about the entrepreneurial journey, right? It's in the name itself. So that's just one thing to have an expectation of. But yeah, also just reach out to people like myself or others on LinkedIn, do your research about it. But that's my general advice to people.
Amazing. Fantastic. So we'll let you get back to work. Arjen, thanks again for taking the time. And you sounds like you might hear back from a few of our audience members over LinkedIn kind of offline. And we
For
appreciate you
sure.
continuing to be such a great advocate for the program.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day. Take care.
Cheers. Bye, Arjen.
Bye.
Okay, so now we're going to transition more into really putting a microscope on the application process, and Beth is going to guide the audience through the application process just like she would any individual applicant for the program. So at this point, Beth, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Connor, and thanks to everyone joining us today. I promise that wasn't a paid sponsorship by Arjun. That was so lovely. Yeah, so I'm the application advisor for the program. I'm the person that works with every applicant through the entire process, start to finish. I complete a preliminary review of your application when it initially comes in. I'll reach out and kind of guide you through what the next steps in the process will look like. My role is really to provide candidates and assist them with preparing, the strongest application that they can. Ultimately, my goal is to have as many successful applicants come through the process and enroll in the program. So if we want to transition to the next slide there. So in terms of the admission requirements, so these are what you would see on our website when you review it. In terms of firm requirements, kind of standardized ones, that would be work experience is typical that you would see for other applications. This program doesn't have a firm number of years of work experience. While we do recommend around 2 years, there are cases where we would consider candidates with less than that. And then we also have a number of candidates who come in the program with several years of work experience as well. So those are really strong candidates in the program. They're able to be kind of more of a mentor to some of our younger candidates, and it's a really nice relationship that's formed that way. In terms of education, we do ask for an undergraduate degree, but we don't specify a discipline. So you don't need a business degree to join this program. We get quite a wide range of undergrad degrees. We have quite a collection of them in the program. So it's a great representation of different skill sets that you've gained in your undergrad and different layers of education throughout. And then with regards to innovation and entrepreneurship, really a proven interest and engagement in those kinds of activities. So that's what's specific to this program, and that's what differentiates it from an MBA program per se that Arjun was talking about. So really showcasing why this program is the one that you're passionate about. In terms of the soft kind of skills and qualities that we're looking for, that would be communication, of course, ability to execute, passion for change. All of those are really important skills that link into that innovation and entrepreneurship space that will set you up to be really successful in the program. We also ask that you thrive in a diverse environment. This program has a number of different candidates represented, and a lot of diversity in terms of age, background, location. So it's a really great diverse cohort of individuals. And with that, we do ask that you showcase that you're going to be an effective and supportive team member because of the team-based nature of the program and the diversity within each team. So onto the application process. So we've listed it in kind of 4 different chunks here. So I'll start off with the first one. So that would be the preliminary assessment portion. So that would be essentially when you initially decide that you would like to proceed with an application. So it can go one of 2 ways. So you might start off with chatting with a recruitment advisor and showing interest in that way, or you might go directly to the website and fill in the online application form. So there's kind of 2 different pathways that I see candidates come in. So with that, we do ask for a resume and unofficial transcript, and that would be to help us complete the preliminary assessment and just make sure that you are hitting on those requirements that we touched on. So your undergraduate degree, your work experience, and just kind of showcasing that innovation and entrepreneurship tie. And then the online application form is something that we'd ask for if you did come in through our recruitment advisor. And then one additional piece of the preliminary assessment for this program is the Kira assessment. So that essentially is a kind of mini video interview. And it's not meant to be stressful. It's just meant to be able to ask you some questions and kind of record your responses and showcase your abilities and passion for this area. So that's a really great opportunity to have a unique part of your application and show that passion on screen. That's sometimes a little bit hard to come across in other ways. So from there, we move on to the post-assessment. So candidates who have been deemed eligible from the preliminary assessment will move on to the post-assessment. And that would include a statement of purpose. So it's essentially a written statement discussing why you would be a good candidate to the program, touching on your innovation and entrepreneurial experiences. You might touch on team diversity. It's kind of meant to be open-ended so that you're able to showcase your unique personality in that as well. And then we also ask for a reference. So we do recommend a professional reference for that. Sometimes we'll accept academic as well. But really someone who can speak to your skills in the innovation and entrepreneurial space is always the best choice for that submission. And with that, you would send me their name and email address, and then I send them a link to an online form to complete. They'll fill that in, and then I'll receive it back. So it's pretty straightforward on their end. They don't have to write a formal written reference letter that you may see for other applications. So it makes it pretty streamlined for them. And then if you aren't a native English speaker or your undergraduate degree wasn't completed in English, we would ask that you submit a language test with that part of the application process as well. Excellent. And then on to the interview. So essentially, if you are deemed eligible and then you submit the second part of the application, that's when we would move on to the interview process. So that is with Associate Director Connor McCann joining us today. So it's essentially a 20-minute conversation with him hosted through Zoom, or we have had candidates asked to do it in person as well. So if you're local to the Kingston area, that may be something you're interested in. And Connor later on in the slide deck is going to go through a little bit more detail on the interview process and what he's looking for as the facilitator of that interview. So essentially, after the interview with Connor, we would move on to the post-interview. So that would be when you would be waiting for your admissions decision. As Arjun noted, we try to be pretty quick with those decisions. We don't like to leave you waiting too long. So usually within about 1 to 2 weeks, you can expect to hear back. At that time, that's also when we do our scholarship review for Dean's entrance. So that's something to note as well. You may receive a scholarship with your offer of admission at that point. And then it's actually after the interview and after an offer of admission that we do ask for those official documents. So that would be your official transcript or a WES assessment if your undergraduate degree was completed outside of North America. And then we wanted to touch on some common mistakes in the application process. So with the name of the webinar, tips and tricks, we thought we'd also highlight some areas that you may want to avoid as part of your application. So things like that may include lack of research on the program. So we want to make sure that you've done thorough research on the program, that you make sure that it is a good fit for you. That can also mean that you're reaching out to our team to do that research as well. So we have recruitment advisors. You can reach out to myself as the application advisor. So you have a lot of areas where you can ask questions, and please use us to do that because it always showcases in your application when you are pretty familiar with the program. Unclear career goals. So with this program, it is a professional-based master's program. So it would be great to see that you have some goals tied to the program. Essentially what you hope to get out of it, whether it be if you want to build an entrepreneurial venture of your own, or you're looking to innovate in a corporation. It's just great to hear that. And that would be something that you could define, through your application and through the program as well. You don't have to have a set plan just yet, but just having an idea of what you would like to move forward with there. Use of AI to write your cover letter, your statement of purpose. So that's something we're seeing more often now in today's landscape. But with this program, we really do want to hear from you authentically. We want to hear about your passion and your interests. And so if that's something you use as a tool, maybe to get started, that's great. But as far as kind of the final submission, it's great if we can hear from you more personally. Not selecting strong references. So that's something that we do want to highlight. Typically, professional references are the best option for that. They do tend to be a little bit more detailed than an academic reference would be. Of course, if you've had a really strong relationship with a professor, we will accept that, but just making sure that you are choosing someone who can speak to those innovation and entrepreneurial qualities that you have, just to be the best reference that they can be for your application. Application timing. So we are getting close to kind of the end of our recruitment cycle here, but there is still time. You absolutely can submit an application now and still be considered. For international applicants, we are getting very down to the wire and may not be able to proceed depending on the visa processing time for your specific location. So that may be a next year conversation, but otherwise there is still time for this year, and I'd encourage you over the next couple of weeks to really get moving on that application. But as Arjun is an example, it can be done. There is still time. Not having a financial plan is another thing that we see. Our programs are a big financial investment, and it's important that you've done some research on that and have a plan in place as part of your application. Because essentially, if you do receive an offer of admission to the program, there is a pretty quick deadline turnaround in terms of your deposit and enrollment in the program. So we just want to make sure that you have had that plan in place ahead of time so that you're in a position to secure your enrollment and move on from there and get onboarded as quickly as possible. And last but not least, not connecting with an application advisor. So while you do have to submit your documents to me directly, some candidates, don't ask all the questions that they have, or they don't reach out as much as they could. And that's really my role. So that's what I'm here for. And I'm always happy to answer any questions that you have. So don't feel like you're asking too many questions or not the right questions. That's really what I'm here for. And I encourage you to always reach out.
Great, thank you, Beth. So I'm just going to switch the deck over here. I did want to discuss the interview in a little bit more detail as one of the key components of the application process. So logistically, once an applicant passes the preliminary assessment, provides all of their application elements that Beth identified as part of that stage 2 of the application, at that point, Beth will simply email the candidate a Calendly link that they'll use to schedule the final interview with me. So there is some flexibility when it comes to the timing and the dates of those final interviews. So you can pick a time on Calendly that makes the most sense for you. Of course, if there's no times on that Calendly link at all that work for your schedule, Beth and I are always happy to be flexible and kind of schedule outside of Calendly as well as needed on a case-by-case basis. So you just schedule the meeting directly through Calendly. That'll pop calendar invite into your calendar with the Zoom link that you use to connect with me. When it comes to dress code, it's casual, business casual. Don't show up in sweats or a tank top, but you don't have to come up in a full suit or a tux either. So somewhere between both of those extremes would be great. Because the interviews are only 20 minutes long, I think it would be helpful to give the audience a sense of what I'm asking for so that you know how to prepare and how to make the most use of that limited time that we'll have together within the interview. I will read an applicant's application profile comprehensively before the interview. So everything that you submit into Beth before the interview, your career assessment, resume, unofficial transcripts, the reference that is received, I will look at everything. So that gives me a pretty advanced starting off point for the interview itself, which means that in the interview, I can jump right to the good stuff, right to the substantive questions without having to take 10 or 15 minutes to just get acquainted with the applicant. I'm kind of jumping all over the slide here, but that relates to my first general tip for the interview is to reread your own application package. Because I will be looking at your resume and your transcript and your statement of purpose, it's smart for an applicant to look at those elements as well, because I very likely might pull some questions directly from those application elements. So when it comes to the interview and the areas that I want to focus on, it's really just two main categories. And the first one is probably the most important. It's this idea of return on investment. And Arjun alluded to this a little bit earlier on in the webinar, how applicants should really be thinking, of course, about the program and the value that they'll bring to the program, but also the value they want to get out of the program and where they want to go with their career once they graduate from the program. The MMIE program is a massive investment of not only money, but also time and effort on the part of all students. So at the end of the day, when it comes to making final admission decisions, the admissions committee wants to ensure that an applicant that we're reviewing is in a position to get a fair return on the investment that they're willing to make in themselves through the program. And a lot of that return on investment has to do with what an applicant's career goals are, where they want to go with their career, and whether the program can be leveraged towards the completion of those career goals. So that's kind of the main thing that I'll be driving at within the interview. So I might ask some pointed questions about where you're hoping to go with your career and how in your mind the MMIE program can help you get there. So if you're able to succinctly answer that, address where you want to go and how the program fits into that professional arc, that professional story, that will bode well as far as preparation for the interview. Another theme that I like to touch on within the program is the group-based delivery model for the MMIE. There's a lot of group work, a lot of teamwork that takes place over the 12-month delivery of the program. We've all been on teams in the past, or maybe we're on teams right now, and we know that one bad team member can kind of ruin the experience for everyone. So we do our best just to get a sense for the type of team member that someone will be in the program within the interview. So how I ask that question, it might vary a little bit depending on an applicant's unique experiences and background, but it's all about painting a picture and giving me a sense for the type of team member that you think you'd be within the program. So in preparation, thinking about teams that you've been a part of in the past, in your mind, what separates good team dynamics and good group work from not so great team dynamics or group work, the role that you're naturally drawn to within teams, the value that you put on teamwork and collaboration, the mindset that you generally like to adopt when you go into a team for the first time. Just think about, those questions and kind of just the theme of teamwork more broadly, because that is something that I always touch on within the interview. With regards to general tips, again, just reiterating the fact that it's always smart to review your own application elements, specifically your resume and your statement of purpose in advance of the interview. Don't read off a script. So I think there is a tendency sometimes for applicants to over-prepare, to maybe have a fully written out detailed script of everything that they want to say within the interview. And the content of that script might be amazing, but it also might not be what I ask. So it's, you can have some notes jotted down, of course, some bullet points. That's, that can be a helpful reference just to have some ideas jotted down within the interview. But to be reading off a script verbatim, it's usually not very compelling from my side of the virtual desk. So don't over prepare, don't have a script. Another general piece of advice, and this is one that I just thought of, is test your AV setup. So just make sure that you have a good internet connection. Ideally, you're in a room with a door that you can close. There's not background noise. You want to ensure that I can see you, that your camera's working okay, that the lighting's decent. You don't have to have a professional podcast set up, but it's always good just to hop on the call or to hop on a separate Zoom call before, just to make sure that you're that your mic and camera are working and that you're in an environment that's going to be conducive to us having kind of a good one-on-one conversation. So the interview, it's nothing too stressful. Be confident. That's probably my closing piece of advice when it comes to the interview. As Beth has laid out, only the candidates who have passed the preliminary assessment and who were satisfied with everything that they provided into Beth as part of stage 2 of the application, those are the only applicants who make it to the interview. So the fact that you even get an invite to the invite to an interview is a positive indicator that we like what we see in your application. So be confident. Don't be overconfident, because there's some negative aspects of being overconfident within the interview as well. But certainly don't shy away from the interview. It's an opportunity to express how excited you are about the program and to express really where you want to go with your career and how you think the program fits into that journey. So that's really the main emphasis of the interview. Don't over prepare. Don't stay up till 2 a.m. kind of prepping for the interview. It's more of a conversation. If you just kind of focus on those couple of areas that I mentioned, you should be in great shape for the interview. And then back over to you here, Beth.
Thanks, Connor. So I included a little clip of our website. So if you click that Get Started button, it will take you to the Ready to Apply page. And you can click that button right there to start your application. As we've kind of mentioned, if you're not ready to start your application just yet, you have some questions, please feel free to email me. I believe my email should be on the next slide there to kind of finish off the presentation, but we absolutely encourage anyone who's interested to click that Apply Now button in the next couple of weeks, and then we look forward to working with you on your application.
Fantastic. So I know that some of you have asked questions through the Zoom function over the duration of the presentation, and Beth, as always, was very busy talking about Beth being very quick to address questions that come up. She's already answered all the questions in our queue, but I will give the audience another moment to compose, type out any questions that you have within the Q&A function in Zoom. But just in closing, I mean, a piece of parting advice, and I'm sure Beth agrees with this, is don't self-select out of the process. If you're interested in the program, I mean, a great way to qualify that interest is to join the general information session webinar next Tuesday. So please register for that if you haven't already. If you like what the program's about, but you maybe have some hesitations around your undergraduate GPA, or maybe you think that you don't have enough work experience to qualify for the program, maybe you think that you don't have enough of a defined idea, or you haven't started a business already, so you have some reservations or anxiety around that, don't self-select out of the process. At the very least, engage with Beth, have her conduct that preliminary assessment. If she concludes after conducting that assessment that you don't currently qualify for the program, she can give you some steps, some actionable things that you can do over the next year, 2 years, 3 years to put yourself in a better position to qualify for a future intake of the program. And there are a number of other professional graduate programs within our portfolio. So it's not uncommon for an applicant or an inquiry to come in asking about one program, and then they find out that there's another program that they're actually better suited for and that they're more interested in. So Beth is very well versed in all the programs that we have to offer, so she might help navigate you towards a different program within that portfolio as well. So at the very least, reach out to us, engage. There's no cost associated with applying or having that preliminary assessment conducted or interacting with Beth or myself. I'm available on LinkedIn. We have Beth's email address on the screen here. As Arjun mentioned, you can connect with him directly over LinkedIn. A piece of feedback that I've received consistently across applications for the MMIE program is that students are a great resource. So if you want to leverage LinkedIn, search the MMIE program, connect, reach out to current students. Students, by and large, have a great experience within the program, and by and large, they're very willing to share that experience with prospective applicants and prospective students as well. So there's an incredibly powerful network of students and support. So don't hesitate to leverage that. I don't see any questions in the chat here, Beth. I think we cleared it right out. So we will go ahead and sign off for today. But again, just wanted to thank you all for taking the time to join us. Big thank you to Beth for supporting the webinar today. Thanks, Alex Mundy, who's running Zoom support on the back end, kind of an unsung hero. No one sees or hears from Alex, but she makes sure that the call runs smoothly. So thanks for that, Alex. And of course, thank you to the virtual audience members. We hope to hear from you and hopefully see some applications maybe coming from some of you over the next few days here. So thanks again, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.